Oh, I do love that bit. Happy 4th of July to all my American friends. I'll do this actually. There you go. Happy 4th of July. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Live with the Glitter Practitioner. That's me, Dr. Nupi Arora. And it's just fantastic to have you here. Please do let me know where you are joining us today from in the comments below, because I love to read all the comments afterwards and reply back. So do let me know. And so this is very exciting today. I've got the best guest on for you today. But just before I bring her on, for those of you who don't know me, I am a doctor in the UK. I'm a general practitioner, family physician, and also a transformational life coach. And I am passionate about holistic care. And what I love doing the most is helping people to find their fizz and flourish. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on my beautiful guest, Miss Leigh-Anne Treadwell.
Hey, Dr. Nupi. You lovely glittery soul, you.
Oh, hello. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thanks for inviting me.
Oh, bless. Did you like your time?
I love it.
I just think it's just a bit, with the whole glitter explosion that goes off. And then I'm like, I really want a fanfare when my guest comes on.
It's perfect. The feast for the senses. Bring it. We've got the visuals. We've got the sound effects.
Absolutely. You look gorgeous. Look at your hair, woman. Absolutely stunning. You. So, Leigh-Anne, love you to tell everybody who you are and what do you do?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So
sorry, two questions.
I'm Leigh-Anne Treadwell. I am the founder of Bristol Upholstery Collective, and I like to have a bit of a different approach to the craft of upholstery. So I run a training centre. I do bespoke commissions in doing up people's chairs. I love to collaborate with artists. I love art and artists and supporting the local craft economy. And of course, being sustainable, because, upholstery is rooted in sustainability as a practice and as a service. So doing my bit for the planet too.
Amazing. And for those of everybody who's watching today, you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, what does holistic care have to do with chairs?
The holistic chair? Yeah.
So I love the way that you are called the Cherry Godmother. It's just adorable. It really is. And I've even in my head got little stories going on of the adventures with the Glitter Practitioner and the Cherry Godmother.
Oh, what they get up to. I got that nickname because I'm on a TV show called Money for Nothing, and it's a BBC One TV show in the UK. It usually kicks off around about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon when the series is running. And the show is, the presenters go to the recycling centres, and just as people are about to throw their furniture into landfill, they save it. They have a team of artisans across the UK, and I'm one of those artisans. So they're doing all kinds of chairs that are in real desperate need, and actually some of them should really go into the tip. But there's no job too big or too small. And the presenter, Jackie Joseph, who's also presenter on Morning Live and loads of other sort of home shows, she nicknamed me the Cherry Godmother, and it stuck. So that's who I'm going by.
I love it. It just conjures up to me just magic.
Oh, total magic. It's miracles that I do. And blisters too, to show for it.
But that's the whole thing. It's the whole, I guess what really resonated for me when we met was the passion with which you have honed your craft. And not only that, you have, through your years, passed it on really to the next generation almost. And you're leaving a legacy, which is incredible, because it's a heritage artisan craft, essentially, what you do. And so it was that really resonated with me. And then it was also the restoration process of the chair, which is so much more than just a chair. So tell me a little bit more about that.
So, do you know, I remember when I first got into upholstery, I didn't really know what to expect. And I hadn't really torn apart a chair before. It's not something you do on a day-to-day basis. It's not a hobby. We're just going to tear apart some chairs. Puppies do that. Puppies, they keep us in business. And cats, they like tearing apart chairs. So I remember I've got an arts background, and I ended up moving away to work in the arts in South Wales after my fine art degree. Came back to Bristol and ended up running an old jazz pub. And the boss gave me a roll of red velvet, you know, like the classic pub red velvet chairs.
Yeah.
And an office staple gun, a really clunky, you know. And he said, do you reckon you can recover the seats? And I was like, yeah, how hard can it be? And of course, my first project, I tore apart a pub.
Wow, I like.
And so I started piecing it all back together, and obviously figuring it out as I went along, usually by undoing what's previously been done. You can kind of figure out what's been there, how to kind of put it back. Anyway, I came across a few challenges, and I'd lost touch with making. So I thought, I'm going to go to study at college, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I initially thought I was going to make big hats and become some kind of mad hat lady. And fortunately, they weren't running the millinery course at the college that year, so I saw upholstery on the prospectus and thought, well, there's a trick or two that I need to know more about. So I got into doing upholstery, and from the start, oh my word, I was totally blown away. The whole process of firstly finding that item of furniture that's worthy of restoration and just kind of in need, and it looks really sad. You've got to have a bit of vision, you know, otherwise it's so easy just to discard. And so then, of course, the next stage is to start deconstructing and undoing all this stuff. It's dusty, it's messy, it's dirty, and then you start to peel back the layers, trying to discover what's underneath. Then the next thing is obviously trying to do up the wood, because you don't want to do anything further until your wooden frame is totally sorted. Any rickety joints, anything like that, and you can sand back the wood, and you can re-wax and varnish or stain or paint, or oh god, there's so many things you can do with wood finishes these days, and including the traditional crafts of French polishing and beautiful techniques. And it's just, you can get so stuck into this. Like, honestly, it's really addictive. So that's before I've even started the upholstery process. I've spent hours ripping apart and getting grubby and absolutely loving it. So then the next thing to do is to start building that foundation, that webbing structure. And then actually the process is quite comparable to sculpture, but you're using things like horsehair and hessian and big needles and lengths of twine, stitching them back and forth.
Wow.
That firm up this squidginess. It's just fluff that's stitched into this structure that's so supportive, and therefore has so much longevity in it. So I'm talking particularly about traditional upholstery practice. Yeah. This isn't about kind of just whacking on a bit of foam. That's what foam replaced, was this beautiful traditional craft. And you know, you've got massive needles, you feel like a borrower and using giant needles. And then of course you work your way up the layers, and you get to then be really creative with how you choose your fabrics, and that can be to match into your interiors, or you know, you've got to bear a few things in mind, like fire safety, and just generally how long it's going to last for the usage. Sometimes you might have a really pretty bedroom chair that you can get away with putting a dress fabric on it that just looks good but doesn't have to do any work. And then obviously people come in and say, I've got this sofa, I've got 6 kids and 2 cats and a dog that's massive. And I'm like, right, okay, you need this stuff on your sofa. Something bomb-proof. And actually then it's about the finesse and fine-tuning and just bringing in those little fun details like colourful buttons or piping to really kind of bring out features of the chair that otherwise could have been quite lost. So it's fun because it's creative.
Yeah.
So it ticks all the boxes in terms of being hands-on,
Yeah.
getting messy, getting destructive, and then rebuilding and creating. And then you can sit down
I
after.
love it.
Yeah,
exactly. Wow. I
So,
love
yeah.
the way you have I've literally just been transported. I was transfixed by the way you tell the story about the deconstruction, and then, you know, just fine-tuning everything.
I do love to tell a story.
It's gorgeous. It's absolutely beautiful the way you've described it.
Thanks.
And I think what I love really is the fact that it's a really old skill almost, that it's not just like, okay, let's stick some foam on or whatever. It's an art form in itself. The creative bits, not just
totally
the beauty bits. Yeah.
And I think that's what's really important in the sustainability kind of, you know, category, is that these heritage skills very much need to be practiced and passed on. Otherwise, they're going to die out. Although, actually, at the moment, I'm seeing a massive increase in popularity of upholstery. I think with lots of TV shows like the one I'm on, and the Repair Shop, and various different ones in the UK and on Netflix, people are just have a go heroes these days. And like me, that's how I started. I totally just had a go. And tore apart. I would suggest on something a bit smaller to begin with. But actually, that's how most people learn, is by doing and actually embracing the mistakes and delving into different elements of it. So in upholstery, it's quite a vast world of specialist skills. Even though it sounds quite niche already, you can go even more niche and really delve in deep. There's always something to learn, which keeps it interesting. And therefore, then it's kind of a bit more like a lifelong journey as an upholstery practitioner, you know, as a upholsterer, for you and for the chairs that you create, because the chairs are going to outlive anyone that ever sits on them if you make them well enough, you know, and you have that in mind, which is great. Therefore, then in sustainability, to consider repurposing, redesigning, and remaking, but not only with the present day in mind. Like, you know, that we went through a bit of a phase where a lot of furniture was made kind of just throwaway, and that's really quite tricky then to restore. But there's no reason why chairs can't just keep on going if they're made beautifully in the first place, then, and you invest well in them in the first place, they just keep going.
Yeah, and I guess it's like a legacy as well, isn't it? You're leaving something behind and for another generation. And I think the way I see it is a chair, it's so simple, but it actually means so much. You know, when we were talking before, it struck me that, you know, it symbolizes so much. It almost symbolizes that it's holding space for you, which I love that. And you all, you know, without even knowing, people have their own favorite chair, or you have your own favorite spot where you want to sit. That's what you're used to. And that just fascinates me.
I was on a radio show, the Bristol, I think it was Colston Hall, now named the Bristol Beacon. It was selling off all of its old theatre seats, and they were refurbing or something. And they called me onto the radio and said, "Can you just talk about chairs?" You know, and I was like, "Yeah, great, okay." I'll talk about chairs all day. And they were saying, you know, what is it about chairs? And actually, you know, when you're purchasing your tickets for the theatre online or the cinema or wherever it is, you always have an area where you want to go because you've got your preferred perspective. Same as when you go into a classroom or a seminar or any big event, stadium, gig, and you're going to head front left or back right, or, you know, up front close, right, where you can see the teacher's board. And even on the bus, I love my favourite seat on the bus, and I'm always delighted when I get to. I don't get the bus very often, which makes it even more exciting. But I get on the bus, and if I can see it coming down the road, and my favourite seat is free, I'm literally skipping on the bus. Do you know where it is? Top front. We're at the very
right at the front.
Nice big windows. You're high up, and you can see everything. You can bounce along the world. Oh, I just love it. So, do you know what I mean? Everyone's got a favourite chair, or has their kind of preference of where they want to sit. Or there's a family member where you're totally not allowed to sit in their chair.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Yes.
Yeah, you'd be booted out in an instant.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, no, you can't sit there. Off.
I bet so many people have so many chair stories.
Yeah.
And
I think that would make an amazing little thing of collecting all these stories. And it's actually the layers beneath it. Ooh.
So many layers. That's the thing, isn't it? And I think relative to the actual process, because it is a total layering structure, and you'll be surprised how many layers go into a traditional built chair. And that's what makes it so beautiful and meaningful, is that layers. And like the stories, there's that hidden inner secrets. Quite often when I'm taking chairs apart, you can see the kind of squiggles of the previous maker that would have been either leaving a note to themselves or just signing off their work or referencing a character number to a client or whatever. I love those little marks that people leave behind, and you end up trying to imagine, okay, they've used their heads here, their hands, they've got their resources. And I'm almost detective trying to imagine what made them make those decisions when they were making it.
So it's the root cause. So this really goes in line with really delving, discovering what's behind all of this, which I guess is how I practice medicine, how I approach my coaching with clients. But that's what really, I got so excited when we first met, and I was like, oh wow, your story.
Yeah, how you referred your own practice to chairs. It was just brilliant to make that relation, wasn't it? Just like, you do the same thing, but I do it on chairs with 4 legs, you do 2 legs.
Exactly. Tell me about and this is the other thing really, is the crafting. When you set up the Craft and Wellbeing program.
Oh yeah.
Tell me about that.
So before I set up Bristol Upholstery Collective, I actually had been teaching across the southwest in the UK, colleges, in community centres everywhere, and I would go on tour regularly. And I noticed there was a story, actually. I'm going to tell you a story because I know you like stories.
I love stories.
Stories.
Oh yes, please. I'm ready.
So there was a lady that came to my classes, just an evening class in Bristol. And at the end of the term, throughout the class, she seemed to be quite sort of, straight-faced, concentrating. And I always think, because people are really engrossed in what they're doing, are they having fun? I don't know, I can't tell. They are. They're definitely having fun. They're in flow. They're just there. Nothing else is existing. And so she, at the end of the term, said to me, "Leigh-Anne, thanks ever so much. You've saved my life." I was like, what? How have I saved your life? I've just been teaching you for 3 hours a week. And she said, what's going on in my personal life? I think her mother was dying at the time, and she was traveling and living in Bristol to help support her mother in that time. And just for those 3 hours a week, she managed to get out of the worries of the world and just focus on doing a craft. And it's just incredible how much impact that has on somebody, to get them into that position to just immerse themselves and give themselves a break, even though it's really physical. It's not a break. Like, it's hard work, upholstery. So, it's just a kind of zone that you go into. And she kind of gave me a bit of a heads up. I was like, oh, this really does have impact. And actually, maybe that impact would be beneficial for people that were in a certain situation. So I went to the School for Social Entrepreneurs, and they accepted me, and it was a wonderful program. I met 20 other really amazing social entrepreneurs, all with their ideas. They'd spotted something a bit wrong with the world, and they were on their mission to fix it.
Wow.
And I tell you, that's where you find your crew, isn't it?
Yes.
And then
she
so I went to School for Social Entrepreneurs, and I developed a Wellbeing and craft program, and that was designed alongside a Wellbeing practitioner who was currently working at the Happiness Project in Bristol. And we kind of interlocked the layers of the building of a simple footstool that I'd designed the processes within it to then sort of sandwich in the 5 ways of wellbeing.
Wow.
And it was just so good, because whilst you're making, it's the perfect time to be chatting to people, because you're kind of concentrating, but you're in a social group too, and it's it's easily done to just kind of share ideas. and that bringing people together out of isolation was really important as well in that group scenario. So actually the people, my target kind of beneficiaries for that pilot scheme that I ran, that was back in 2013.
Wow.
Yeah, it was so long ago. And there was people that couldn't work for whatever reason, whether that was, so they were unemployed either because they were seeking asylum or in between jobs, or just mentally not so, being challenged, so that therefore they just weren't able to kind of commit to any work or concentrate on anything. And I don't know, as an artist previously, I've been in and out of projects. I've never really been employed by anybody, but I've delivered a lot for council funded kind of activities, and it's that feast and famine between projects, delivering them. And actually what I found was it's really a confidence knock when you aren't in a work team, or you aren't able to see what you've achieved that day, what your purpose is. So actually I found that the unemployed beneficiaries were the ones that could actually have most impact. And so obviously after that pilot scheme went so well, I graduated from the School for Social Entrepreneurs, and I thought, right, well, this needs to become a social enterprise. And similar to other social enterprises that sell products that have a social purpose, this one actually has the social purpose in the process of making the product, rather than the product being sold and the profit or share being delivered to the social cause. And I needed affordable space, and I needed some really cool people around me that were just like-minded. And so I set up Bristol Upholstery Collective to share the space, share the resources, make it affordable for everyone. Because I thought, well, if I'm looking for affordable space, I bet you I can find another 10 that also are. 10 upholsterers, newly qualified. And that's how we started. And
wow,
it was the thing of the collective bringing people together out of isolation, to reassure each other, to bring the costs of business down. I always say we shouted bolder, brighter and louder.
I love that.
Than anyone could do individually. Collectively, we had so much more presence. And that's actually when the TV show approached me, because they were like, here's Crypt, what are you doing? There's a collective of upholsterers. And the first episode, we actually had about 8 upholsterers on, and it was an editor's nightmare. So they were like, maybe we should just have one upholsterer, and just you do it.
Oh, that's incredible. That really is.
It's just really great to recognise that craft being a way to feel better about yourself is so much more recognised these days. I'm loving it.
Absolutely.
That we're almost 10 years on since I've been at the School for Social Entrepreneurs. Back then it was kind of just starting to be recognised, and now it's very much, I love that. I love that.
Absolutely. And it's also, these are the things that are so important for your general well-being. And we touched on this earlier when we were chatting before, the pillars of well-being. And it's that there's loads here, actually. There's the community, there's the connection. Absolutely. And that's what, you need that. Human beings need connection. That's what we thrive on. We are meant to be in our tribes. We're not meant to be solitary. And it was also it's the connection. It's also the, doing the things that you love doing, the fun stuff, which again is on my F list.
Exactly. Bring the fun. Come on. And actually make a mess while having that fun as well.
I love messy time. I always used to love messy time. Like, I was like, deconstruct everything, but it's also the flow as well. So there's it's going in flow and being in that flow state where everything stops and you're so absorbed. And this is, I guess, it's also when you're learning new skills, you're expanding yourself almost. And I think we forget as children, if you think about it, you go through your prep school or preschool and you're like playing with paints and Play-Doh and all of this stuff. And you continue doing that. And then all of a sudden, when you're in high school, if you're doing art, great. If you're not, I didn't, as doing sciences, then you go to med school. And I suppose if you're doing, anatomy, there's a bit of creative stuff, sort of. Totally
I
off
can just
beat.
imagine
Not
bits
really.
of anatomy being constructed creatively, just like,
Sort of. It's
That's
a
what you mean.
craft, I guess. Yeah, I know. But you lose that sort of spontaneity and that creativity, which is why I've put fun on my F list prescription, because it's so important just to carve that time out. And, you know, that Wellbeing project that you've actually, that you set up. I'm not surprised when you told me that about that lady. I can totally see that, because I know when I was in practice, I would encourage my patients. There was loads of community projects on, and actually really say, look, go down. It doesn't cost anything. And they were similar to yours, social enterprises. And, you know, it was arts. It's always through arts, because you're really unleashing the right side of your brain, the creative free spirit. You really are a cherry godmother. You really are. That's true, though.
I try my best.
Sprinkling
I
this magic.
What I enjoy most was sharing those skills. It's probably like you as well, right? So you have a patient who comes in and they're all a bit worse for wear and looking a bit worn and torn, maybe.
Yes.
I'm referring to the stairs now, of course. And then, but then
I thought you were talking about patients. I'm thinking,
I was like, patients, they look worn and wear and tear,
yeah.
And
it's health,
And actually, then you've got to make this assessment, which is what I do with my clients. Like, right, okay, your chair needs this, this, and this. The springs are looking a bit saggy, and this could do with, you know, a bit of treatment here and there in the woodwork. And then at the end of it, you get to make it better. And I suppose I get to redesign as well. So I can have my own unique expression on it. But that's what you're doing with your work too. You're not really ordinary GP, Nupi. You're definitely
glitter.
It's about your approach.
Glitter. Yes, absolutely. And it's showing somebody, actually, it is that the transformation happens when the mindset, you're allowed to see it and you can transform it. And I'm not for 1 minute saying this is easy. It's not. But that's where something like the F list comes in. It is a list. So at the beginning, it's almost right, okay, every day I'm going to do this. This is how I keep myself in balance. And then it's understanding your thought patterns. And then it's also, absolutely, and then you're redesigning it, because the way the brain works, it's all the neuroscience within this, is that you can develop new thinking. You can develop, the brain's incredible. It really, truly is. And it's with that new thinking, you're opening up your perspectives, which means you're expanding your awareness. And then you've got more choices. And it's through that guidance as well. You know, this is not just emotional health. This is physical as well. There are those choices, and it's through those choices that the change happens. And that is where the healing and the transformation happens. And I could talk about this for hours, just like you can with chairs, because this is what lights me up. It really does. And when you were talking actually about your chairs and the restoration, your eyes are lit. I can see it in your eyes.
And also,
clear, you know,
I can see that you had a similarity in approach to me as well. You're just like, oh, that's what I do with people. And actually, you know, I even think when I ask people, you know, I say, where's the chair going to go? Where's the intended purpose for this chair? Which again, it fits into the broader spectrum of their interiors, which therefore is a lifestyle. You know, it's so funny how on how many levels we work to do a similar thing.
Absolutely. Oh, damn, I'm running out of time. I wanted one little story of I think we've got time. Let's just do it.
We've got time, have we, again?
Yes. If you can, I know you've shared lots of stories with me, but maybe just one story just to finish up the program of
one little story. Do you want my most recent story that I told you?
Yes,
I tell everyone that one? Okay,
yes.
Fine. Well,
actually, like a little girl. I'm like, yes, please. Yes.
I know this one gets you kind of tingling.
Beautiful.
So actually, this was a customer that turned up at the workshop and really excitedly was like, oh my God, I can't believe we're here. She turned up with her daughter and she unloaded 2 armchairs into the workshop, and we began our consultation appointment. And she said, my husband would watch your TV show and is a massive fan. And when he was in his hospice, so he was so ill, and I think my episode came on the TV when he was in bed in the hospice, and he pointed and he said to his wife, he made her promise that he said, "You must get LeighAnne to do our chairs. I love that girl. She's the one to do our chairs," and knowing full well that he was never going to see the chairs restored.
Yeah.
So his wife turned up in the studio and she was holding a leather jacket, black leather jacket, which was obviously his. When he was alive, he would wear it all the time. He was recognised wearing this jacket, signature look, let's say.
Yes.
And she said it is the only way that you can incorporate this jacket into the two chairs. And I was like, well, the size of a jacket, it was a large jacket, it was a guy's jacket. But obviously with two armchairs, you have to be careful in your design about where you position it. And actually there's certain elements and features of the jacket that you want to kind of get involved. So we had this amazing consultation session where I drew a picture of the chairs, we bounced ideas, and she was having so much fun with her daughter. They were just both beaming being there. And that again makes you so happy. It's such an exciting project. Yeah. And we had a Christmas deadline, and it was a few weeks before. So I pulled in one of my collective members and students that just qualified, Emma, who is well known for being a bit of a problem solver. She's got that kind of doer kind of attitude about her. And I think you need that. You need a bit of confidence. You need a bit of faith in yourself to just make it work. Yeah. Which, funnily enough, was the name of my social enterprise, Make It Work.
Seriously?
Anyway,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So we teamed up and we remade this jacket, and the sleeves of the jacket, they had the kind of stitched seam lines, and we put those on the front of the arms of the chairs. And the zip we put on the sort of that ran up the back, so you could still use the zip even though it didn't open anything. It was still there.
That's so cool.
And then his pockets we put on the wings of the armchairs. And when I dropped the chairs off, it was Christmas Eve when I turned up at the house, and she just absolutely burst into tears.
I'm not surprised. I am.
It was just so emotional because I was really nervous because you think, God, all this work, and what happens if she hates it? And I've just chopped up her husband's jacket, and there's no going back. But we'd come up with this design so well together, and I love that collaboration between customers, artists, upholsterers joining teams. Brilliant. That's what the world's about. And she actually had given her a copy of the drawing after the consultation, and she'd gone home and coloured it in. And she went, oh my God, they look just like the drawing, because it was just how she wanted it. Because we'd had such a great, the creative minds had met, and we totally sussed it. And she was just so lovely. How I said, if you want to put your hand in your husband's pocket, just there. And she was just there, putting her hand in and hugging this chair, and just, oh God. Yeah. One of those moments. And actually we get that a lot. We do get customers cry quite a lot. I'm not surprised. In the workshop, obviously, because we do really good work, not bad work. But it's that sentimental connection, and usually that chair they associate with someone that's really beloved and potentially have passed. So therefore the chair is a way of them living on, and it's just stunning how that power in the chair, in the hands of upholsterers.
Exactly.
Come on, guys.
It is though. It's healing, and I love. Oh my goodness me! Oh, thank you for sharing that story. It is one of my.
I tried to keep it quick.
You did that really, really quickly. Actually, it was just beautiful, and thank you for sharing that, because I think that actually is it just showcases what you do. It's more than just I upholster chairs here. It is so much more than that.
So much more resourceful, so much more collaboration involved, so much more heart invested.
Yes, and that's what you're doing. It's your mind. It's your passion. You're bringing something back. So, wow. So, tell me very quickly, how can people get hold of you?
So I have a website, it's bristolupholsterycollective.com, and it's actually a school. So if you are local to the area or fancy travelling around the world to come to Bristol and be taught by my incredible team, honestly, you'll never meet a bunch of people more enthusiastic and passionate.
I am. Sorry for
come down. People
I'm coming.
Study. And so that's the place to get hold of me. I'm also on LinkedIn and Instagram and all the usual, Facebook and whatnot. So
fantastic.
My team will be in touch with you.
Fantastic. And are you still doing the TV show?
Do you know, I'm having a short break actually because I've got a lot on, and we're planning a big event for August, which is in a few weeks, and that's where again we try and bring more community together, because there's so many people working as upholsterers in their spare rooms, in their workshops. It can be quite isolating and lonely, and there's so much to learn from each other. And so we get together and we have talks and we discuss all kinds of the future of the furniture industry, and we exchange, you know, successes, tips and stuff.
Do you have, excuse me, miss, do you have to be an upholsterer to come?
No way. You can do whatever you can.
Can I come?
Not even held a hammer before. Honestly, people come with absolutely no idea of what it entails. No sewing experience, no hammering, nothing. And actually, a lot of people that work in quite corporate jobs, I tend to find that are very office-based jobs tend to come to regular upholstery classes because they get to engage their hands.
Yes.
And
amazing.
And they unleashed this side of them that there's always been suppressed. Maybe at school they were told that, you know, the creative arts wasn't anything to explore. There's no money in it, and all that kind of, you know, the pressure to go into a career that has more of a commercial basis, I suppose. But actually, it's then become such a great productive hobby for a lot of people. Because let's face it, you can do up your own chairs. You don't have to buy new ever.
Exactly.
Like, you can get it exactly how you want it. Just do it yourself.
I can just see me coming from Manchester. I'm like, oh my gosh. Can you imagine on the train with like a chair? I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I shouldn't have done this now.
There's been a few occasions where I think people have got on public transport, just like, what is this? Bring your own chair to sit down on. It's the state of the public transport these days.
Thank you so much for coming. Honestly, I could talk to you for absolutely ages, which means I think we need part 2, maybe a part 3 and 4 for more adventures.
I love hanging out with adventures. You. Come back.
And we'll call it part 2, more adventures of with the Glitter Practitioner and the Cherry Godmother. Thank you so much. I'm going to shake my bells now, and I shall see you in a bit in the green room.
Bye.
Wow. I mean, I really hope you enjoyed that, because I just think it is incredible when you are connecting, creating, and as LeighAnne has been talking, the passion that she has done what she has done, and it's the community as well. Oh, incredible. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and again, happy 4th of July. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you next week on Live with the Glitter Practitioner. Thank you so much for joining. Bye.